great speakers today. So among our speakers will be Dmitry Kaminsky, General Partner of Deep Knowledge Group, Gregory Rowe from Invest Hong Kong, Joy Chan from Hong Kong Stock Exchange, and Stefan Noto from SPAC Consulting. And later on, we will have the panel discussion. So I'm pleased to welcome on the floor Dmitry Kaminsky, the General Partner of Deep Knowledge Group, who will highlight the current trends in the opportunities. Shreya, can you just mute yourself so we can start? Okay. So Dmitry, the floor is yours. Please, we welcome you and your speech.
Yes, thank you, Anastasia. Hello, everybody. It's my great pleasure to be here today. I think today we'll have quite interesting presentations and discussions, and eventually we'll have joint panel discussion. And the first part of the day, it will be about focus on Asia. And then later in the second part of the day, we'll have another part of this conference day, and it will be more focused on Europe and United States, North America. So first part of the day it's Asia, second part of the day it's Western world, and all about advanced biotech industry, advanced most kind of frontier sectors in biomedical, pharmaceutical industries, and also longevity industry, which is now becoming quickly emerging as the even more frontier applications of most advanced biotech, biomedical, preventive medicine technologies. So I will share my screen. My name is Dmitry Kaminsky. I'm General Partner of Deep Knowledge Group. And my presentation today will be about investment trends in most advanced pharmaceutical sectors in pharma industry and also longevity industry. So Deep Knowledge Group, it's a consortium of for-profit, non-profit organizations. We have a number of investment financial vehicles in our consortium, including some of them focused on artificial intelligence, deep tech, some of them particularly focused on longevity industry, and some of them focused on applications of artificial intelligence for drug discovery. In total, we have also 12 analytical subsidiaries in our consortium, and we have a number of non-profit philanthropy projects. Out of those 12 analytical subsidiaries, 6 of them actually focused on life sciences, including Deep Pharma Interns. This company actually is organizing this conference. We have also Aging Analytics Agency. This company particularly focused on analytics of longevity industry. We have Neurotech Analytics. We have Femtech. This is women health. We conducting quite significant analysis over the last several years on the matter of regional COVID safety, comparing different countries and how they actually addressed prevention of COVID pandemics. And we have also Space Technologies, but in that company is paying quite significant attention to space medicine because there's quite a lot of interesting overlaps with longevity. So briefly, Deep Knowledge Group, it is data science-driven financial preparation with significant focus on knowledge aggregation, and longevity industry is the major priority for us. Deep Pharma Interns regularly is publishing investment digest on the with specific analysis of artificial intelligence in pharma, and you can download free of charge this investment digest by this link. This sector, artificial intelligence in pharma, especially during this year, is witnessing extreme growth of investments, so very significantly exceeding what we have saw in the sector during previous years. And in total, we can expect that it will be more than 12 billions of dollars by the end of this year. Also, first time we profiled this sector 4 years ago. By the time it was comparatively small. However, during 4 years since 2017, it grew approximately 30 times. So the quantity of companies increased 30 times. The quantity of investors increased significantly, and the same with big pharma and even IT corporations, tech corporations, which also entered or starting to apply their technologies for drug discovery using artificial intelligence. One of the reasons why we do see very significant growth during the last 2 years, because back in 2019-18, there happened something what could be named as AlphaGo moment in AI for drug discovery industry. And this was particularly done, first of all, because of success of specific applications of these 4 companies, including DeepMind of Google, including in Silicon Medicine, which is actually located based in Hong Kong, and Deep Genomic and HealthX. In Silicon Medicine, probably will go public next year, and we were the first investors into this company, which is quite well known in Asia, in Hong Kong. In Asia, we also do see quite significant rise of investments, activities in financial deals in the sector of artificial intelligence in pharma. Here are some leading countries in the sectors. China and Asia in general is quite also considerable. In fact, we are seeing entire like real biotech boom in China and in Asia. And of course, Hong Kong is the major like spot and hub for actual financial epicenter of all biotech boom in Asia. So we are monitoring in total 300 AI pharma companies globally, and some of them, as I mentioned, also located in Asia. Here's distribution of regional distribution between different countries in Asia. Here you can see the biggest deals which happened during this year. So some of the private rounds, actually just single rounds, were $400 million. Several companies went public. Here you can see mind map with big deals between big pharma corporations and AI pharma focused companies. And we also do see there is steadily and significant growth of deals, different types of strategic partnership between big pharma corporations, tech corporations, and AI for drug discovery focused companies. Here you can see corporations, big pharma corporations, which are actually the most proactive in establishing this partnerships or deals with AI-focused companies. What also interesting that this sector of artificial intelligence for drug discovery, the first company started to be active in this field back in 2014. At the first stage, pharma corporations were quite skeptic to whether AI can actually deliver like the real value for drug discovery for R&D in pharma sector. However, 2 years ago, they quite significantly switched their skepticism to something what could be named nice to try. And already in 2020, it became strategically important for many pharma corporations. So you can see here also this evolution. Somewhere around 2019, the actual, the paradigm shift happened in this sector. Now we do see very intensive competition, and we can expect that in the next couple of years, there will be significant market consolidation of the sector. Deep Pharma Intelligence created this big data analytical dashboard. You can get access to this dashboard by this link. So this is a dashboard to analyze artificial intelligence for drug discovery in pharma sector. So it's indeed a big data analytical system. So it's using machine learning, deep learning for analysis of different transactions, including financial transactions in this field. We are also paying quite significant attention to publicly traded companies applying artificial intelligence for drug discovery. Again, you can get access to this analytics by this link. We're monitoring 50 AI-focused, AI for drug discovery focused companies. Here are some of them, actually top 10 by market capitalization. Here are some another examples of these companies, public trade companies. Some of them are not only pharma companies, but for example, NVIDIA, they're quite active. They very much active in this drug discovery field. We created our own analogy of index of these 50 publicly traded companies in the field. And during 2021, this index actually showed growth much more significant compared with, for example, S&P 500 or biotech or pharma indices. So the sector, AI and pharma, public trade companies are significantly exceeding most of other indices. For this, for analysis for these public trade companies, we're actually using again specific analytical dashboard. You can get access to this dashboard by this link. And we also issued a simple derivative, AI Pharma MC actually managed certificate. So it is tradable and bankable, and it's providing exposure to AI pharma sector to specifically designed portfolio of publicly traded AI pharma companies. That portfolio is created based on data analytics, which I showed previously. We can expect that in the next several years, many of advanced AI pharma companies, so advanced, just like really advanced pharma, biopharmaceutical, biomedical companies will become public, will go public on Hong Kong Stock Exchange. Hong Kong Stock Exchange introduced a reform 3 years ago, and that allowed even pre-revenue biotech companies to go public. And this is quite significant, and this is one of the reasons why in total 75 companies went public on Hong Kong Stock Exchange during the last 3 years. Now about longevity industry. So again, Asian Economic Agency is regularly publishing investment digest on this industry. This is the mind map of longevity industry ecosystem. There are 24,000 companies, 9,000 investors, multiple hubs, and we are profiling 20 sectors in this field. It's not only about biomedical in particular, but it's also, for example, longevity, insurtech, longevity, wealth tech, fintech. So because these sectors are quite interconnected with advances in biomedicine. This is longevity industry framework, which we developed 3 years ago to analyze, to understand this extremely broad industry. By our considerations, the current capitalization of this industry, capacity of this industry, $25 trillion, and it will grow quite steadily during the next years. You can see here distribution, global distribution by regions of longevity companies. Here are the leading countries by scope of investments into longevity industry. Here are the biggest companies in the field. And also there's quite notable quantity of companies which are based in Asia, in Hong Kong in particular. Some of them actually public traded at Hong Kong Stock Exchange. This is the mind map of longevity industry in Asia. Again, you can get access to this by this link. And what is extremely notable that last year, 2020, Hong Kong became #1 in the world by life expectancy, actually exceeded even Japan by that parameter. So Hong Kong now became not only the major biotech and financial hub in Asia, but also the major hub on life expectancy, which is quite notable, I would say remarkable. Again, we're using a big data analytical system to analyze investments in the longevity industry. You can get access to this dashboard by this link. This is truly big data analytical system. So there's more than 9 million data points. We're using strong machine learning, deep learning techniques to actually extract some specific patterns for predictive analytics to structure our investment strategies. Again, we're paying quite significant attention to public traded companies in this field. We are monitoring more than 600 companies, public traded companies in longevity industry. These are several examples of public traded companies. These are the biggest companies which are having something related to at least age-related diseases, if not longevity itself, but at least to age-related diseases. Again, this is a specific analytical dashboard on longevity publicly traded companies. Based on that analytics, we also created a simple derivative longevity industry AMC. So once again, to explain what this means, this is a simplified version of exchange traded index fund, which is providing access exposure to professional investors to basket of longevity focused public traded companies. Also, recently we published a special case study on longevity derivatives and no financial instruments. You can download this report by this link. Also, 1 year ago, I published this book, Longevity Industry 1.0, defining the biggest and most complex industry in human history. And we are actually going to publish an entire series of longevity-focused books. A couple of weeks ago, I published Longevity Biomarkers of Human Longevity. This is a new book, and quite significant part of that book is dedicated to how biomarkers of longevity are the only tangible metrics to actually, to establish framework for tangible investment decision making and de-risking in longevity industry. There is a specific issue related to longevity that companies which are claiming that they have something related to anti-aging, to life extension, to let's say to longevity. There is some tendency that their valuation is higher compared with standard biotech companies. However, in our opinion, this requires also more specific scrutiny, before those companies will go public, because otherwise they could be overhyped, and this is not beneficial for sustainable growth of longevity industry. In that book, in the Longevity Biomarkers book, we are providing some analytics on 12 public traded companies which are specifically focused on longevity, and some of them, unfortunately, haven't yet provided actual tangible results on humans. So they have very preliminary experimental results on mice, and for longevity, it's not sustainable. And also, we are providing some consideration about some gaps and inconsistencies, which create some issues and challenges for longevity industry. However, also create some opportunities for investors, for, let's say, sophisticated progressive investors. And in that book, we're actually also providing some considerations about possible solutions and recommendations how these gaps and inconsistencies could be solved in the reasonable, pragmatic way. In the next several months, we'll also publish longevity financial industry. So that book will be particularly about financial investment sectors in longevity industry. And eventually we'll publish Longevity Industry 2.0, Deep Tech Engineering, the Accelerated Trajectory of Human Longevity. At this slide, you can see links to all major projects which I mentioned in my presentation. Significant part of this information is free of charge, so we are interested to educate the public, to provide more information in particular to professional investors. And this is my final slide. So this is links to all major organizations in our consortium. thank you for your attention. And I'm looking forward for our panel discussion later today.
Thank you so much, Dmitry. Thank you for this great overview. We really appreciate it. And we're looking forward, guys, don't forget to stick around for Dmitry and his panel discussion, his participation. We're going to have some interesting insights. Thank you so much again, Dmitry.
Thank you.
Okay, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. And I apologize, I've had some technical issues before, but I'm back in and I'm really excited for this event. I wanted to give you a proper introduction. My name is Julia Bondaruk. I'm a senior partnerships manager at Deep Knowledge Group, and I will be moderating the talks for today. And I just wanted to give a huge shout out to the host company, Deep Pharma Intelligence, who's making this event possible today. And they're a great leader in the analytics field, and we really appreciate them putting this event together. And again, thank you, Dmitry, for giving us this great overview. I just wanted to remind you that we have a really great lineup of speakers for today, and I would like to welcome the next one to the stage. It's going to be Gregory Rall, Senior Manager at Invest Hong Kong, who will provide an overview of business opportunities in Hong Kong for healthcare, life science businesses, and investors. Hello, Gregory, are you with us?
Yes, and I will share my screen.
Please go ahead.
So can you see it?
Yes, we can see it. Feel
Okay.
free to start.
Yes, I just have to make it bigger. Yes. Yes, hello everyone. Good morning in Europe, good afternoon in Asia. Would like to give you a kind of overlook about the biomedical cluster of Hong Kong and also the accessibility to Asia. So when you see this kind of skyline, it's you see Hong Kong as a very vibrant city and also a city, international city, as bridge between the West and East. When we talk about Invest Hong Kong, we are from the government and we give the support to young companies, startups and scale-ups and greater companies free of charge. And we can also connect you to the specific stakeholders in Hong Kong. And if you would like to know more information about Hong Kong, how to land there, about visa application and legal system, etc., we would like to help you. When you see Hong Kong, of course, we are in the center of Asia, and then in the reach of 5 hours, you can reach 50% of the world's population, which can be actually very attractive for your businesses in Asia, not only placing in Hong Kong, reaching out from mainland China, but also approaching other markets like Korea, Japan, India, Singapore. This is a kind of overlook of the Hong Kong's activities and also the kind of services we give. You have with Hong Kong and our government a kind of support. The tax regime is very elegant and not so high. You have a leading IP system in Hong Kong. It's a very special place in Asia for the arbitration. And in addition, you have with the Hong Kong city, vibrant city, also access to mainland China over the Greater Bay Area. I will give you later an overlook. Last but not least, we are the third biggest financial market after New York and London. And now we will explain you later in the talk also about the leading IPO destination for biotech companies in Asia via Hong Kong. Life sciences. So when you see this overlook, this is the kind of value chain I like to show always in the beginning of the biomedical hub and cluster. So you have works in the basic research to preclinical, clinical trials to the market for your products. And you're participating with lots of prominent companies, greater pharma, and also leading clinical trial centers in Hong Kong. When we talk about the health system, you can see Hong Kong also as a public and private healthcare system. So you have private hospitals, specific 10%, and public hospitals. And then you have also kind of certain regulation, and this has something to do with the harmonization. So when you're approved in Europe or in America, you can easily land your products in Hong Kong. It's not the biggest market with 7.5, but you can have a kind of testbed market for Asia and later reach out for the Asian markets. In addition, what Dmitry said about Asian society, longevity, yes, Hong Kong has a very long life expectancy. And this is actually very good. People live long because of the weather, the food, the system. But this is also the kind of challenge for the civil population, because in the last remaining years, you want to have a good quality of life. And therefore, we are looking for partners in the world, bringing their solutions to Hong Kong to work with us together. Clinical trials, yes, you can do clinical trials in Hong Kong. And as said, as a test bed, as an initial market for you, Hong Kong with 7.5 million population. But this means you can have a kind of exploration R&D works in Hong Kong, which can also be funded by the science park. This I will tell you later in addition. Healthcare system, yes, this is similar like in European countries. We work in prevention, diagnosis, treatment, and rehabilitation. But more important is we're looking for more tools, and this leads us to the topic of medical AI. Diagnostics, yeah, diagnostics is a very, very important topic because how can I say, the traditional medicine, no, not traditional medicine, the normal therapeutic areas where like cancer, diabetes, ECG, and so on, and this was always about the treatment, but the medicine of now and future is more about the diagnosis, so preemptive medicine, which leads us to precision medicine. Based on big data, based on new tools, as Dimitri also mentioned, we can have a better analytics about the healthy population or non-healthy population, which leads to a longer life. And with this, we have a kind of hub of diagnostic companies in Hong Kong. And I'm very pleased to know that two leading diagnostic companies, Genomics and Sonomics, just made a merger, and the merger will be celebrated next week in Hong Kong. AI for drug discovery. This, Dimitri also mentioned, yeah, we are very pleased to know that in silico medicine is placed in Hong Kong. They started actually in America, but then they settled in Hong Kong, as also Dimitri mentioned, because of several reasons. This is the access to the Asian markets. It's about the proliferation of medical AI, and it's also about the funding. So with in silico medicine, several more prominent companies, for example, from Europe, will also place in Hong Kong. In the near future, when I worked before in Japan, we already started with medical AI companies. But now when I work now for Hong Kong, I could come and reach towards very specific companies from Europe working on eye disease like glaucoma and AMD. And you can actually have an earlier diagnosis on this kind of diseases for the earlier treatment. And this is very vital now and for the Asian society. Last but not least, if we think about the CNS, about the central nervous system related to Parkinson's and Alzheimer's disease, based on aging society, I think we should work on new tools related to medical AI, and the keyword is novel biomarkers. Pharma revolution, of course, it's about pharma in Hong Kong and biotech, but here the keyword was stem cell research. When we saw stem cell research, it was a kind of moral issue beforehand, but now we have new technology with the IPS, so we can actually create organoids, and the organoids can actually support clinical trials to avoid preclinical tests with animals. And then you can also cultivate new parts of your body for the improvement. This is about the Hong Kong Genome Project, and this is actually very important because of the cohort study of healthy and non-healthy volunteers to get a better diagnosis in the future and about the treatment to create new biomedical tools. Fundraising, this is actually one of the most important topics of today, and our colleague Joel Fan will from the Hong Kong Exchange will later make the outline about the Hong Kong Exchange and why it's so important. As an overlook and snapshot is, yes, we are the third biggest financial hub in the world, but regarding to the biomedical side, biotech side became really the leading IPO destination in the world. And this has also something to do not only with the biotech chapter 18A, as mentioned before, like a pre-listing approach, but also related to mainland China, because there was some issue that a company could not go at the same time IPO in Shanghai or New York, and then Hong Kong was free of that. Many Chinese companies are placed now in Hong Kong and went IPO to not only for fundraising, but also to proliferate their businesses in Asia. This is just an example of TigerMed. TigerMed is a leading CRO from China, and they went for several billions of Hong Kong dollars public. Another approach is Spark. This is the very new approach. Spark, it means special purpose acquisition company, means you go IPO without underwriters, and you have to have a lots of technologies, innovative technologies. We're talking about unicorn companies which have a kind of very special investor in mind. And these investors normally create a kind of joint venture with a unicorn company like Prenetics, and they merge with the tycoon, Hong Kong tycoon Adrian Cheng, and went Spark for $1.7 billion US dollars, which is very impressive. Greater Bay Area, I just give you a quick overlook. This was also mentioned. Greater Bay Area is now the area, we call it Canton or Guangzhou, means a Greater Bay Area, a population of 70 million people. And this is not only Hong Kong, Shenzhen, Macau, and other 9 cities. And this means also when you place in Hong Kong, you can actually skill up and scale up in the Greater Bay Area. This is just about talents and access. And now I come to the Science Park. Science Park is, of course, the leading hotspot for our technology companies, biomedical companies, all kinds of engineering companies placing here, and you get a very superb support in the cluster, and with means also kind of labs and financial supports. We have actually a very special funding for young companies. You can ask me anytime about that. I would like to support you. This is about the sub areas of biomedical, as you know. And then we come to the other value chain of translational research. So we are proliferating products from the bench to the bedside. This is something very new. This is the Hong Kong Shenzhen Innovation Technology Park. And this is a kind of, I would say, a bonus, because when you create your businesses in Hong Kong, you can actually reach out to the Greater Bay Area via the Shenzhen hub supported by us. And of course, everything is bigger in China. So you have lots of opportunities to scale up with your company in the Greater Bay Area. Summary, working with us together is always welcome. So we from the Hong Kong government, Invest Hong Kong, would like to help you with the planning, setup, and launch and landing in Hong Kong. So please ask me anytime if you have a question. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Gregory. I think you're going to be responsible for a lot of people moving to Hong Kong now in the pursuit of longer and better lives. And thank you so much for giving us all this opportunity and this information.
Yeah, thank you too.
Thank you, Gregory. So I would like to welcome to the stage our new speaker, Joe Fan, who's the Vice President and Deputy Head at Global Issuer Services, Hong Kong Stock Exchange. So he will be delivering an overview on Hong Kong, IPOs, and listing opportunities. Hello, Joe. How are you?
Hi, Julia. Hi, everyone.
Thank you so much for being with us. We're really excited to hear your talk.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay.
Please feel free to share your screen.
Thank you. Okay, everyone. Good morning, everyone, and good evening in Hong Kong. My name is Joe. As Julie introduced, I'm from Hong Kong Stock Exchange, from the Global Issue Service side. So today I think it's a very good chance to share more about Hong Kong capital market. And as Dimitri and also Gregory just mentioned, lots of good news and also great momentum, especially in the technology side and biotechnology markets. I think it's a good timing right now. So today I'm glad to share more about the technology investment landscape, especially from the public markets perspective. And I will introduce more about what's going on in the biotech and healthcare sector and the listing area in the Hong Kong's capital market. I think Dimitri just gave a very great introduction about the whole macro system, about the global biotech industry. So according to McKinsey's report earlier released this year, actually the venture capitalist activity in biotech firm actually increased by 45% from last year. And I think the global investors' interest, especially in the healthcare and biotech companies has dramatically surged, with over 57 billion US dollar have been invested worldwide in this industry. So especially in the IPO activity, actually the biotech ecosystem actually has a very fast pace as compared with other category or other business in the fundraising area. So especially for the biotech company, actually there are more than 34 billion US dollar has been invested in the biotech companies last year. So I think it's a very great momentum. So with this very successful driving force, I think in Hong Kong, after we launched the biotech listing chapter in 2018, actually Hong Kong is now the Asia's largest biotech fundraising hub, as well as the second largest IPO venue in biotech in the world. So talking about some macro overview, first of all, about Hong Kong Exchange, actually we are consistently one of the world's top 3 IPO centers. And we have been the #1 IPO venue globally for 7 out of the past 12 years. And some update information up to October this year, actually we have already welcomed a total of 76 new IPOs in Hong Kong and raising about 38 billion US dollar. Obviously, I think the healthcare and biotech sectors has become the most prominent one in Hong Kong IPO market. Talking about our key milestones and some innovation and key breakthroughs in the past decades. Actually, of course, I think the major breakthrough, as just mentioned, is in April 2018. Actually, the Hong Kong Exchange, we have the 3 major breakthroughs to have a listing rules reform. First of all, we introduced the biotech pre-revenue companies chapters. And I think it's a very remarkable milestone because this opened the doors to many high growth new economy and biotech companies from a broader range of different categories and helping them to secure the funding through both primary listing and also secondary listing. So 3 years on, I think these reforms have already fundamentally changed the DNA of Hong Kong capital market. And Hong Kong stock market has now become even more vibrant and diversified. And also, I like to highlight in these years, we also have some innovation and some reform. In particular, I think 2 new consultations we have already released. First of all, is about the enhancement of the listing regimes for the overseas issues. And the second one is about the SPAC listing regime. We made a proposal as well and also completed consultation. Yes, so I will go through it in the later part. Okay, about the biotech, the regulatory regimes just mentioned. I think I won't go through detail, but first of all, I think for the biotech chapter, I think it's the most interesting is that it welcomed the pre-revenue biotech companies. We rely on their core products and also and other requirements such as depends on the competent authority and also require the meaningful investment from the supported investors. So I think this will also open a great door for those companies which has not commercialized or without the financial track records, so that they can raise funds in the early stage, and also they can have the funding support to support their R&D capacities and also their product development. Another 2 breakthroughs is about the WBR, which means the dual class share structure for those innovative companies. So right now, Hong Kong, we now already have 14 listed WBR companies already in Hong Kong. And the third one, I think is another big wave. We introduced another new regime to welcome the secondary listing for those Chinese companies that already list overseas. So especially for those listed in qualified exchange, we name it, including the New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, and also London Stock Exchange, the main market for the premium listing. So we welcome those Chinese companies can come back home to Hong Kong for the secondary listing. And also so far right now, Hong Kong, we have already another 14. We call it the 19C secondary company already listed, including Alibaba, Baidu, and JD.com, etc. So some update statistic. Right now, since 2018, we already have 168 new economy companies, which including those technology, AI, fintech, data, and also, of course, the healthcare and biotech companies already listed in Hong Kong. And in terms of funding they raised, which is already up for these 168 companies, the total fundraise is more than 100 billion US dollar, which account for 63% of the total IPO fundraised in Hong Kong during the period. And it also contributes more than 26% of Hong Kong's total market cap right now. So in terms of the ADT in the cash markets, these new economy companies now contribute more than 22% this year as compared to only 4% in 2018. And especially for the healthcare and biotech companies, right now, another update information, right now we have already 77 healthcare and biotech companies and raised more than 30 billion US dollar, in which about 40 companies, which are the we call it is a pre-revenue biotech company, raised more than 13 billion US dollar. So when we talk about listing, so based on our daily interaction with the global issuers, their founders, and also investors, so we understand what are their key considerations and expectations from listing, or where to list should be the optimal value. So we highlight few key concerns that are in their mind when they think about listing. I think 4 big key areas. I think first of all is about the valuation, the peers comparison. And the second is about the liquidity at the time of IPO, as well as the post-IPO in the secondary market. And the third, very important, is about the investor base. So they look for a very diversified and internationalized investor base. And the last one, apart from the funding, actually another key reason for listing is talking about the business collaboration. So I think we summarize some key factors. We think that Hong Kong is an attractive and optimal place to address the factors that I just mentioned. So in particular, I highlight 2 key attractions, especially in the Hong Kong market. First of all, is about the global connectivities. So based on our listing reforms, actually, we think that the geographical location of Hong Kong is definitely an advantage for companies, especially in the high growth and with the global expansion plan, including with the access to the Chinese market. So I think with our close proximity to the mainland China, I think this will help the healthcare and also the biotech companies to concentrate and to concentrate their resources and enrich their R&D capacities and also the patient market, and to develop the business partners and with the capital accessibility. Another key attraction for Hong Kong is about the diverse investor base. Actually, we think Hong Kong, as compared with different markets, we have a very balanced mix of investors. So both including the retail and institutional, as well as from the local and also international investors. From the graph, you can see that actually we have a quite balanced and good mix, especially in the geographical point of view. Actually, more than 50% of the international investors, the trading come from like US, UK, and Europe. And of course, another majority is from the mainland China and the rest of APAC. So I think this combination is another attractive reasons for lots of international companies. They will choose Hong Kong as the listing venue. So looking ahead, I would like to share about 3 main opportunities ahead, especially during the post-COVID century right now. So as well as the capital market, the upcoming trend. So I think 3 major opportunities I would like to share. So first of all, I think the healthcare and biotech sector, which is the most booming factors, of course, is in the list. Another key factors, I think, as compared with other sectors, our healthcare and biotech sectors actually is one of the fast growing sectors, following by the information technology or the financial services, as well as the consumer product. So, and also, I think in terms of the trading liquidity and velocity, Actually, you can see that since 2017, actually, the trading volume and trading activities by investors has been keep increasing. So it can prove that actually the investor appetite is very positive in this sector. Another key support is based on the indexes. Actually, in 2019, we launched the Hang Seng Hong Kong listed biotech indexes, which now includes 55 constituents, including 21 pre-revenue biotech companies. That greatly reflects the overall performance of the listed biotech companies in Hong Kong. So since 2020 and up to June this year, actually, this biotech index has been seen with the more than 87% upside as compared with other industry index in Hong Kong. And also in November, another key development, in November last year, our unique stock connect program between Hong Kong Exchange, Shanghai Exchange, and also the Shenzhen Stock Exchange has started to include the eligible pre-revenue biotech companies to be included for the southbound investment by the Chinese investors. So currently, we already have 24 eligible biotech companies can be traded under the southbound stock connect regime. Deep dive into the biotech sector, we know that actually there are many exciting new subsectors are emerging. Apart from the AI or longevity area, like Dimitri just mentioned in the beginning, I think digital healthcare is another key area we can see that are booming very fast. This includes the internet healthcare, the big data, and also the medtech. It, of course, include those new AI application, especially in the drug discovery and development companies. Another key trend is, especially during the pandemic, it accelerated the growth of those subsectors, including the mRNA technology drug companies, as well as those producing vaccines and diagnostic products. So another about medical devices and also the clinical services are also another key trend and developing very fast. About the investor, so I extract some sample names of the global institutional investors, including those non-funds, PE and VC. They are playing very actively in the Hong Kong healthcare and biotech IPO. For example, like Sequoia, Q House, OpenMap, Chimin, GIC. Those are very international named investors. They are very supportive to Hong Kong, the biotech sector. So another update on our pipeline, actually, which is remaining very strong. So far, actually, not just about actually, so in the overall number of pipeline, we have more than 200 listing applications already received on hand, in which more than 50 application, which is from the healthcare and biotech sectors. And among these more than 50 applications, we got more than 20 of them are from the pre-revenue biotech chapters. So you can see that actually not just Chinese names, but I think in the coming months or in the next year, you'll see more and more international names are coming, including from UK, Ireland, Germany, Belgium, Switzerland, and Singapore. So you can see that apart from the product diversity, another key development is in the geographical coverage for this biotech and healthcare. We've seen a very diversified expansion as a whole. So some other technicals is about the requirement. I think Gregory from Innos Hong Kong just touched a little bit, but I won't go through too detail in my presentation. But I just highlight 3 key principles for our biotech chapter. If they look for some suitability for listing or eligible for listing. First of all, I think our regimes mainly rely on the core product side, and also they have been past the concept stage, and also they require some meaningful amount of investment from some we defined the sophisticated investor. Of course, there are other detailed requirements. So feel free to reach out to me if you need more information about the requirement side. Okay, second opportunity at hand is about the new listing routes. So I think, as I mentioned in the beginning, this year we launched 2 new consultations. We expect to open another doors to facilitate, especially for those overseas issues. They can be more flexible and find Hong Kong markets more attractive for the listing. So first of all, is about the overseas listing regime. Actually, in March this year, we have set out some additional proposal to streamline the listing process, especially by those overseas jurisdiction applicants. They can simplify the application process from the legal perspective. And also in other areas, such as the dual class shares structure and also the VIE structure for those Chinese and also some international companies. We have some flexibility proposed. And also in terms of the secondary listing by the qualified issues list overseas, we also made some levy for them to facilitate them to land in Hong Kong as well. And the consultation period has been closed, and we are waiting for the publication of the consultation conclusion and the new rules being effective. And the second part, of course, is about another hot topic is about the SPAC. Of course, you can see that actually in US market, the SPAC booming is very remarkable, especially last year. And also in other markets, including UK, we understood like the FCA and also the London Stock Exchange, and also beginning their listing regime, and also touch on the SPAC, which is already exists in the listing regime. And also like Singapore, we understand different markets are doing a revision about the markets. So for Hong Kong, actually, we are also taking it very serious to do a feasibility study and make a proposal on the SPAC. So the consultation period has been ended in October. So we're also waiting for the conclusion, because we have received tremendous numbers of responses about the new regime. And of course, from the Hong Kong, I think maybe many different inquiries about the position about our Hong Kong SPAC. But I think we are taking very great balance in terms of the market protection, and also from the competitiveness and attractiveness as well. So today I won't go through detail about some technical about the SPAC, but feel free to reach out to me if you have any more questions about our SPAC regime. Okay, so the last one, I think because of the limit of time, I won't go into detail, but I think the ESG and sustainable finance is another key opportunities we're looking ahead, especially during the COP26, which is a very recent topics just closed last week in Glasgow, actually, which is the climate change, the ESG, and also the sustainability. Actually, is a top agenda for different kind of industries, products, or corporate investors. So I think, especially for Hong Kong Exchange, we are very committed to support this area. Not just from the regulator point of view, we regulate more than 2,500 listed company about the ESG disclosure requirement. And also, we also just joined the Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero, and also the Net Zero Financial Service Provider Alliance to support the long-term sustainability commitment. So I think from the technology or biotech point of view, I think especially for the companies and also investors, I think it's one of the key priority for them to take this ESG and sustainability element into their portfolio and also business strategy. And Hong Kong Exchange is very committed and dedicated to support this initiative. And we look forward to more crossover between ESG and also the biotech and healthcare. Okay, so to close my part, I think we look forward to welcome more international technology and biotech companies to land Hong Kong. Not just for the business, but also in the capital market collaboration. So thank you again today, and I hope that you all enjoy the rest of this event. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Joe. I can definitely tell you that our attendees enjoyed it a lot, and the overall feedback is confirming that the system is moving very dynamically. And thank you so much for showing us that it's full of possibilities. It's very insightful. Okay, great. And for our next talk, I'm actually very happy to present you our very own Anastasia Litt, who's the Vice President of Investor Relations and Business Development at Deep Knowledge Group here. And her topic is opportunities and specs for the biotech industry. Hello, Anastasia.
Hello again, and thank you for the introduction. I would like to share my screen just to start the presentation. And just a second, here we go. Thank you again for your time, and hopefully that you will also join my presentation as well. And also I would like to say thank you to Joy Fan and Gregory Rowe and Dmitry Kaminsky for highlighting the opportunities for the biotech and healthcare sector, which is about to grow tremendously and just to boom. Sorry, we need just to wait for the presentation to be loaded. Yeah. So my name is Anastasia Litt, and I represent Deep Knowledge Group. We are a consortium of investment fund and analytical subsidiaries, as well as we have our philanthropy value. So we can see that we are leading in analytics for deep tech industries, as well as we represent the world's largest knowledge and collaboration IT platform for longevity in deep tech. Also, DKG provides a social impact in government relations, and we are famous for deep knowledge smart investments products. Our team is quite distributed, and you can find every team member like in every continent in case you would like to talk with us about the further opportunities of the investor relations and business development in terms of longevity. Our company is based on 3 pillars. The one is financial activities, like we have Deep Knowledge Ventures, Longevity Capital, Longevity Financial Advisors, AI Pharma Fund, Longevity Card, to show what we do in terms of investments and financial activities. Also, we have our nonprofit pillar, as we are just about to develop it right now, in terms of our longevity agenda in philanthropy projects. Also, we have a great in-house team of analytics. We have great analytical subsidiaries, and one of them is Deep Pharma Intelligence, who is actually hosting this conference and is represented by all the speakers. One of the recent open access reports made jointly by Deep Pharma Intelligence and Investec Solutions team is SPACs in Healthcare Industry Overview for Q3 2021. Here I can say some great outcomes of this report that you can already find on our website and just read as it's open access. So we can say that SPACs are gaining ever increasing popularity right now. SPACs will begin to compete with each other for the promising startups to acquire as there are less good startups considering the number of SPACs that are looking for the targets right now. We can see the increased importance of PIPE financing for SPACs deals. And of course, it's more and more important and interesting venue for the healthcare and biotech companies. And at the same time, SPAC requires have industry knowledge rather more than solely investments in deal-making expertise. So let's talk more about SPACs at first glance. Here you can see the SPACs market overview in terms of distribution by the companies and sectors. We can see that one of the most important and big sectors are tech, health tech, and fintech sectors that takes more than 10% in CAGR for each year. And we can see that healthcare SPACs still are less in terms of their budget considering to the tech companies. Here you can see the SPACs regional distribution. We can still say that the United States is still leading in terms of SPACs listing, but we can see there is a big activity in Europe, especially in Frankfurt and in Amsterdam. And still we can see that there will be one more policy for the SPACs to be listed in Hong Kong, as Joy Fan was talking about the end of consulting period for Hong Kong Stock Exchange, as well as for the Singapore Exchange. Here is the SPAC IPO transaction with summary by year. The popularity of SPACs has grown rapidly over the last 2 years. For example, in last year, we had 248 SPACs that raised about $80 billion. And even now, from November, we can see more than 500 SPACs already had some IPOs, and they already raised more than 150 billion. So even more than 2 times considering to the previous years. Also, you can see the growing popularity, and we could see like the big, huge like involvement in SPACs in February. Also, we can see that the average SPAC IPO size also has risen, considering like it was $36 million in 2009, while right now it's about 300 million in Q3 2021. But we can see still that there is a lack of capitalization in healthcare SPACs, so for them it could be even more challenging for these days. So what are the drivers for SPACs IPOs? First of all, it's increased liquidity on the markets right now due to the monetary policy of governments. We can see high industry costs. The effects of COVID-19, as there are more and more health tech companies, biotech companies that are willing to go public, to raise capital fast and to take their market share right now. Also, there is option for secure and figure earnings for companies, accumulated unspent private capital, and expanded number of potential companies. So here you can see the advantages for IPO venue and SPAC venue. If you choose to go for IPO, of course, there are financial benefits where you can raise a lot of money in a fast manner for your company. Of course, you can hire high quality personnel, especially in senior management. It's increased visibility for the company in terms of media publicity and knowledge for the public about your company. And of course, you can improve your reputation. But at the same time, if you choose a SPAC for your company to go public via merging with SPAC, it offers you the simplicity of the process comparing to the IPO when you can merge with SPAC in just 3-6 months on average. Also, the operational expertise. Usually, the SPAC sponsor are often experienced financial and industrial professionals that can help you to hire the good top management. They can enter advisory board and so on. And of course, for the SPACs, it's just the fast track venue if you would like to go public, to raise capital very fast, and to have the IPO exit if you are an investor. So let's talk more about healthcare-focused SPACs. Here we can see the total market capitalization of healthcare SPACs during this year grow tremendously. It has a positive trend with more than 200% growth in just 8 months, and the year is just not finished. So we can see that the average increase for the market capitalization was more than 40% per month. Also, we can see the certain jump in April, and also we suppose that we will see some big jump in the end of the year. It is important to know that most of SPACs are listed on the United States, and we can see there is, like they depend especially on the US economy and the US trends. And hopefully in the next year, we can see more SPACs in Asian region, and they will not be so dependent on the US economy. So currently in November 2021, there were 18 companies that just finished their IPO. Via SPACs, we can see 16 companies that are headquartered in the United States, mostly in Massachusetts and California states. But at the same time, there were 2 companies that headquartered outside the United States. The one is Moonwake Immunotherapeutics, headquartered in Switzerland, and Prenetics, headquartered in Hong Kong, which Gregory also mentioned in his presentation. And both these companies listed in the United States. So why do SPACs appeal into the healthcare sector? For the health tech companies, it's very important right now to raise capital very fast due to the challenging times of COVID-19 when they offer bright solutions. So for them, it's very important to choose such a fast way to go public. At the same time, there are many investors, so they can also find investors via SPACs merge. So we can see that there are 72 healthcare and biotech-focused SPACs looking for targets. At the same time, the 51 healthcare and biotech-focused startups with more than 180 million in total private funding. So we can see there is a lack of good healthcare and biotech-focused startups, so it's still just a challenge even for the health tech and biotech-focused SPACs right now. So hopefully they will solve it in the future. Here is a map of top 50 US-based SPACs searching for the investment targets in healthcare and biotech industry. Also, I just want to highlight that you can find our open access reports about the SPACs and healthcare on the Investec Solutions website, and you can find this map for you as well. And I suppose that this could be very useful for the companies. Also, I would like to tell about deep knowledge services for SPACs. We provide a great variety of the scopes. Of course, we help with technical due diligence and acquisition and target identification. We also provide next generation market analytics, the market due diligence, investor relations for SPACs, PR and marketing services, and also company multi-factor SWOT analysis that is provided by our team. We have many analytical subsidiaries, like dozens of them, and among them that could be useful for the healthcare industry, of course, is Deep Pharma Intelligence that is represented at this conference. It's strategic partner for the leading life science organizations, investment institutions, and governments across the globe. They work and provide with investment analytics, strategic positioning, and policy development in the areas of pharmaceutical and biotech research and healthcare tech. Also, they provide in-depth proprietary research, which is available to our client strategic partners. One more darling analytical subsidiary is Investec Advanced Solutions that always provide this sophisticated open access investment digest. Also, they provide identification of the most promising investment targets. They automate data-driven due diligence, matching with prospective investors for your companies, product market fit assessment, deep comparative and competitive analysis, R&D optimization, and potential partners matching. Also, please do not forget about agent analytics agencies that is just providing constantly dozens of open access reports for the longevity industry, open access investment digest, and we expect the great boom in the next decade for the longevity industry due to the silver economy that is growing right now. Also, please take a look at our big data analytical dashboards that also provide different services, not only for the SPACs, but also if you are choosing the IPO or if you are looking for the company to invest or investors. So here you can find benchmarking services, portfolio analysis, dynamics tracking, and some other services. We have great database for the longevity industry. Also, like you can find Deep Pharma Intelligence dashboard, Age Analytics dashboards, and many others. So here you can see our Deep Knowledge Group media presence. We have more than 1,000 articles already published us. Among these media companies are Forbes, Financial Times, and some even others, as well as we have great video media coverage. So thank you for your attention, and I would be also glad to answer all your questions. I'm always available on LinkedIn as Anastasia Lead. So feel free to contact me, and I would be glad to talk to you in Zoom or answer all your emails. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anastasia. I couldn't have said it myself better. Thank you so much for this great introduction into the company and our activities. We hope to receive a lot of great feedback, and all our attendees, please feel free to reach out to Anastasia for any following questions. Thank you so much again. So moving on and following Anastasia, we have Stefan Nalty here, who's a manager and a shareholder at Chanda Consult and a chief advisor at SPAC Consultants on the theme. He's going to be talking to us about going public through a SPAC merger. Hello, Stefan, are you with us?
Yes, I am. 1 second. Here Hi.
Yes. Hi, we're happy to have you. How are you doing?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for inviting me, and I will be happy to provide some insights regarding getting merged with the SPAC. I'm well, working hard. It's my second international conference where I'm a speaker today. Funny, I had one in the early morning at 7 o'clock my time.
Oh, you've accomplished a lot by 7 a.m. Kudos to you. Thank you so much for being with us, and please take the stage. We're really excited about your presentation.
Yeah, okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Stefan Nolte. I'm from Hamburg in Germany, originally, but I left Germany for good in 1984 and live in the Eastern Mediterranean area in the Middle East since then. We are advising on SPACs since 3.5 years. We are setting up SPACs and we are assisting private companies that want to get merged with a SPAC. So now let me share my presentation. Here we go. I hope you can see it.
Yes,
Right.
we can see it.
Let me, 1 second, close the other stuff here. So, yeah, I will speak about going public through a SPAC merger, focusing on analyzing expectations and goals, getting ready for the pitch, finding the right SPAC, and negotiating the merger agreement. The good news is for everybody that it is seller's time, as Anastasia mentioned already right now. There's a huge number of SPACs currently looking for acquisition targets. There are more than 530, exactly 536 SPACs in the US looking for acquisition target companies. Anastasia mentioned the ones which explicitly mention in their prospectus that they are looking in the healthcare area or industry. But in addition to those, there's a big number of SPACs with a very general acquisitions strategy defined in the prospectus, and those may also acquire a company in the health sector. So the potential is more than just the SPACs which already mentioned that they will invest in the healthcare industry. There's a total of 516 billion in trust currently of those SPACs. In Europe, we have 23 SPACs currently looking for an acquisition target. However, I would like at this point to make a little note on European SPACs. You can list SPACs in Europe, but European markets liquidity is a fraction of the liquidity in the US. And this will play a role when shareholders may in future want to sell their shares. If it's more than just a few shares, but a big bunch of shares, you might not find enough buyers to sell the shares that you want to sell if a SPAC is listed on the European stock exchanges. So right now, we do not set up SPACs in Europe. We can do, technically and practically, we can do it. But unless there are at least 5-6 de-SPACings, acquisitions realized by European SPACs, we are very cautious because we want to see how the market behaves during the acquisition and merger period and after the merger. So this is something to be kept in mind. SPACs, I'm talking mainly about US SPACs or only about US SPACs. They're not only looking for targets in the US, but they're looking for targets anywhere in the world. A good year ago, US SPACs started to look into Europe for possible acquisition target companies, and now they look in all the world, from Europe to Asia, South America, Africa, and so on. About 50% of the IPOs in 2020 were, of all IPOs in 2020, were SPAC IPOs. So you see SPAC IPOs are taking, or already took a very prominent position in the IPO market. And SPACs are definitely here to stay, despite all the adverse media reactions sometimes when somebody is coughing at the SEC. The media is writing, oh, the end of the SPACs. This is indeed not the case. One thing you should keep in mind is SPACs that you approached for a possible acquisition and merger are not only talking with you. So there is a competition of private companies approaching SPACs, and also SPACs are approaching private companies to find a good acquisition target. So you are in a competitive environment where you have to prove yourself against others, which you don't know. And therefore, it is only more important to be very well prepared in all aspects. And that's what we are focusing on here now. Getting merged with a SPAC or getting acquired with a SPAC is a matter of size. SPACs typically acquire a company of a valuation of 3 to 5 times of the IPO proceeds they have on trust account, which means that the SPAC with 100 million IPO will typically acquire a company of 300, 500 million valuation. Some of you may say now or may think that, yes, but in the past we saw that pre-market startups have been acquired. It's true. SPAC should acquire a business. SPAC should acquire a company with an ongoing business and not a pre-market startup. And the acquisition of pre-market startups in the near past were one of the reasons why the SEC intervened end of March this year and created some trouble in the SPAC space because they did not see the valuation of pre-market startups justified. There was, just to take one case, there's this case of this e-truck company, Nikola, which is a well pre-market startup, and they were valuated by the SPAC at 1.1 billion, and they are so far from any market entry. So this was crazy, and the SEC didn't like it. And the end today is that 13, 14 SPACs or ex-SPACs are under investigation of the SEC, and 4 or 5 of them are under the investigation of the US Department for Justice. Mainly for the acquisition of misrepresentation. And this is something nobody wants to step into. So smaller companies have difficulties to get acquired by a SPAC because they are simply too small. So many semi-mature startups which are in the market, they may not have enough valuation yet, and they may therefore not be interesting to be acquired by a SPAC. Maybe as a second company or secondary acquisition together with a bigger target, and then the two are combined because they would create synergies. But this is not so often the case. SPACs are issuing, when SPACs acquire a company 3-5 times of the value of the money they have on trust account, the question is, how do they do it? How can I buy a company of 300 million if I have 100 million on my account? So SPACs acquire new shares, new listed shares, and then they do a share swap with the shareholders of the company to be acquired, and thus the shareholders of the company to be acquired become typically, but not necessarily, main shareholders of the merged company, which is then a public company. And it's important to stress that SPACs do not do hostile takeovers, because the selling shareholders are mostly always the majority shareholders of the new merged company. Questions, there's a number of questions that you need to be clear on prior to approaching anybody, any SPAC. So you need to sit down with your fellow shareholders or by yourself if you're the only shareholders. And you need to be very clear about a number of questions, because this will be tested during any pitch rounds you may have with SPACs. So one question is, why do I want to go public? The real fair market value of your company should be clear. And I would suggest at this point, do or order somebody to do a valuation of your company, so you have a fresh valuation at hand, which would prove or justify your expectations. The board members that you meet of SPACs, one of the first questions will be regarding your valuation. And if you tell them just a figure and cannot justify this, you have a weak argument. doing a fair market valuation with a company that is experienced in this and which is also experienced in doing valuations in the SPAC space, which I would recommend you to do. They will be happy to serve, and it doesn't cost a fortune. Depending on with whom you work, it's something around $25,000 to $50,000. If you go to Goldman & Sachs and ask them to do a valuation, they will charge you $300,000 to $500,000. You should be clear at what size of SPAC you want to look at. This is in relation with the financial mechanics during the acquisition and the merger. This is in relation to the size of your company, the valuation of your company. And so if your company has a valuation of 300, 400, let's say, million US dollars, then you would typically look or contact SPACs with an IPO of in the range of 100 million, 125 million, maybe 150 million. Then, I don't know if you know, but a part of the IPO proceeds sitting on trust account can be used as a payout to the selling shareholders, the shareholders of the company to be acquired. But typically the main portion, if possible, of the funds on the trust account will become available as working capital for the company after the merger. So you should have an answer ready if the SPAC board members will ask you, how do you think to use the money you get from this funding after the merger? So you should have a clear plan for this, and you should know where you want to use this money, and you should also know where it will take the company, the usefulness of these funds. What you should also be clear on is what compensation are you expecting? So the compensation is, as I mentioned, shares of the SPAC that you would receive through a share swap. But you might also want to have a portion of cash. Maybe you dreamed about a new villa, or I don't know what. So you want 5 million or 10 million payout, but the rest you are okay with a share swap. You should have a clear answer to that. There are examples of all extremes. Recently, there was, right now, there's an acquisition undergoing of this company Swivel, which is focusing on e-vehicles for public transport in African countries. Swivel's headquarters are in Dubai. The company has been acquired, or is in the process of being acquired. They have agreed on $1.45 billion, and the shareholders of Swivel, they did not want any payout because they have their income, and they prefer to have all the money on the IPO, from the IPO proceeds on the trust account to be provided to the merged company, so they have more working capital for faster development of the business. When you merge with the company, there will be other shareholders together with you, and there will be other board members together with you. And anything is possible. Anything can be negotiated, especially regarding the board. Typically, some of the board members of the SPAC remain on the board, typically the CEO and sometimes CFO. And of course, almost all SPACs, they want the old board or the board of the company which was acquired to remain on the board, because they are the guys who have the expertise, who have the experience. Without them, the SPAC board members wouldn't be able to run the company. So you should have ideas about what you see there, which scenario, and maybe some of your board members are not willing to stay on the board, either because I don't want to work with that guy, or I don't want to be on the board of a public company, etc. So these are questions that need to be answered. And then you should know where you are heading to, or where you want to head to. So SPAC board members, when talking with them for an acquisition, regarding a merger, they will ask you this question, where you see your company in 2 or 3 years' time, provided your company got acquired and went public and got funded with, I don't know, 100 million or 70 million. So where do you see yourself? They want to have a clear answer to that. And if they don't see that you have a vision, they will not be so interested as if you would have a good vision. Yeah, you have to be prepared. You should have a very good teaser deck. Then you should have a very good pitch deck, which a teaser deck is actually a small version of the pitch deck. You must have a professional business plan, and you must have a resilient financial outlook. This is very important. If you have not prepared these plans, you will not lose necessarily the entire interest of the SPAC, but they see that you are not so much ready to go public, and you are not so much ready to enter acquisition negotiations. And this will also bring you to put you into a weak position because you are not clear about your figures. So you will be relying on what they find out or what they calculate what will be your figures, and this might be not for your advantage. You should, of course, have up-to-date certificates, articles of incorporation, KYC, due diligence, all this stuff. This goes without saying in the world today. And you have to have organizational charts, corporate structure. If you are holding patents and licenses, IP rights, etc., they add value to your company, and they might be a good ground for further exploitation in future, which would be for the benefit of the merged company. So it's good to have those at hand and to be prepared to talk about this. Your audit, your accounts, your bookkeeping should preferably be audited, and it should preferably be prepared as per the IFRS or the GAAP, which is the American standard. If you are in a country where you do not apply IFRS or GAAP probably not because it's only applied in the US, but IFRS is widely used in the world. But if you don't have that, you might consider of redoing having your bookkeeping redone as per the IFRS rules by your bookkeepers and auditors, and this would better prepare you for the main pitch and would provide you with a stronger position. Fair market valuation, I mentioned this already on my previous slide. You should have a fair market valuation ready and should be a fresh one. Don't forget that especially companies which are semi-mature startups or startups on the mature stage, their value may rise very quickly. And you got a new big customer, so all of a sudden you have a 25% more value. So therefore your valuation should really be updated. And you should have the vitas of the management of your company, because all or most or some of your board members will be sitting on the board of the merged company. So of course the SPAC board members, they want to know who are these guys, what is their capacity, what is their experience, etc. And then you should be clear of what you are looking for. Merging with a SPAC is like a marriage, and divorce is not easy. So you should really be a match. You should have a similar frequency with the guys of the SPAC board, or with those at least who will remain in the board. You should have a shared vision, and you should have a more or less mutual expectation. And you must be clear of what you will be providing, and of what the others could provide. So one thing, private companies that want to get public, will go public through a SPAC merger, one thing they are looking at often, and they should look at it, is what does the SPAC board, or do the SPAC board members provide in addition to the funds, and in addition to the fact that you are going public. So a very good CEO who is well connected in the industry could be a great door opener for your businesses, for the further development of your business. And they might be able to reach out to companies and circles and environments where you wouldn't be able to reach out to. So such aspects may play a role, and they would be good for the business of the merged company. You should also look at the intention, try to find out, it's not always 100% possible. You should try to find out the intention of the existing shareholders of the SPAC, whether they are long-term shareholders or whether they are shareholders who want to cash out as quickly as possible. If they want to cash out as quickly as possible, and this may be the case for IPO investors who are shareholders of the company, then this might create some disturbances in the market and might drop the share price, for example. So it's not one of the most important points, but it's good to know. When you are negotiating a deal, the most important thing I recommend everybody is to hire a good M&A sell-side advisor who preferably has experience with SPAC mergers. You know what you want, but mergers and acquisitions are complicated matters. And if it's a merger with a SPAC, it's even more complicated because there are more and different dynamics in it. And you will not know all of this, of course. And so you should hire a very good sell-side M&A advisor. And we do assist our clients in bring them in contact with such advisors. You have to understand the clauses of the SPAC merger agreement. It's very important. It's a lot of legal stuff. It's all based on American, in case of American SPACs, it's all based on American legislation. So there's a lot of things that you will need to get explained by somebody, and this is what the advisor will do. One thing you should also pay attention to during the negotiations is that your company will get the funding, the working capital or operation capital after the merger that you desire and that you calculated to be necessary for certain steps of developments that you have in mind. And you should not be weak in that. You should be strong and demanding that. We have seen SPAC merger agreements where the size of the funds provided as financing to the merged company coming from the IPO proceeds on trust account have been put into the merger agreement as a condition. So saying, we agree in merging under the condition that the merged company gets funded with $80 million or $180 million or whatever. So, and then if there's not enough cash for that, in addition to also the cash out you may want, then the SPAC would need to find a pipe investor. This is a private investor in public equity who would provide additional cash, which can then be used to fulfill those conditions. Make sure that you are really communicating well with all SPAC board members, at least with those who will remain in the board after the merger, because these are the guys with whom you will sit at one table and manage the company later. So your process of getting acquainted, of developing friendship, professional friendship should start during the negotiation process. And if you see problems there, that might be a hint that you might have problems later. So keep all your sensors open and sensitive level to feel things between the lines as well. That's from my side. Thank you very much. If you are excited and curious, you are free to contact us, get more information on our website, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have later during the panel. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stefan. We really appreciate your talk and just giving us this pretty much a roadmap to the whole process, and it was very insightful. And please stay with us for the Q&A session, and Actually, I wanted to invite everyone to participate in our Q&A session. That's going to start now. And I would like to ask all of the participants to switch on their cameras and microphones. Thank you.
Hi, Yulia. How are you doing?
Doing great. Thank you so much. And actually, I wanted to introduce one more participant in our panel discussion. That's Shota Singh, who is the CEO of the Thesis Group. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Yulia. Hi.
It seems like we're having a little
Anastasia for Specs and having me. Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, sorry, there was just some little interruption.
All right, hi. Thanks, Dimitri. Thanks, Julia. Thanks, Anastasia. Thanks, Stephen, and thanks, Grigori. I've been listening to your, a detailed presentation about the opportunities and the sort of the doors which is open for all of us to venture into as a team, as something which we can discover together in our journey. So just to give you a little background, I'm from India, Mumbai, and I've been a banker, investment banker for over 15 years. I started my journey when I was 15 years of age. Just thought of making some money through capital market, which was like dabbling in stocks. So yeah, so I moved in managing money, maybe more than 10 billion right now. And it is all about secondary stock market. And for a fact that I got fascinated with deep, your company, for a fact that, you are based in the three fundamental kernels, which is very necessary for our existence, which is atom, the bit, and the gene. So I definitely believe that everybody would talk about the DNA, but I'm a fan of RNA, which is sort of a molecule that actually does the work as a cell, and which copies some sort of an instruction coded by the DNA. So I'm a deep fascination. I have a deep fascination for pharma. And as you know, that India is over, more than 300 established entity we have. And I think overall in the world, we are number 3. So in terms of, so we have a huge population to cater to. So, so our farm to 40% of our population is diabetic, since we have a sweet tooth. We like sweet, so we have a lot of festivals too. So in all festivals, we just gorge on sweets. So, that's the reason I think a huge windfall of money these pharma companies are making, and the huge opportunities which has come in fintech, AI-based pharma company, AI-based tech company, who does deep dive into analytical and cognitive behavior pattern of human beings. So it's amazing to follow through. And I think what Dimitri has started his books, and I'm surely looking to read all his books and with deep interest, because it's itself means deep dive. The whole it's kind of so long, I've been craving for something like at your path, something process like this, and where you can win back, but you can give back a good thing to the society in terms of doing findings to new discoveries in medicines and the right fit of the company and the promoter's mindset. So I think going ahead, the whole road looks quite promising and quite limited. It's not, I would say that is something which we don't know where the roads lead to. It's quite a clear cut, sort of discovered road which we will venture into. So okay to sort of part of this group, the opportunity to bring me in, and obviously you guys can carry on with your discussion. And
Yes.
thank you for having me. So if you have
Thank you
any
so
question
much.
for me, you can come back to me.
Thank you so much for
All
the
right.
insight. And actually, as you are new to the panel discussion, we could start with you. And as you said, there's a lot of tendencies towards growth and change. So if you could name one grand change that you are anticipating in the industry, what would that be?
See, the grand change right now is in India, everything is, it's a cluster business. Like pharma is a cluster business in India. And so far, we have in this year itself about 5 IPOs coming, which is all in pharma, which is a remarkable progress. And I've never seen such sort of windfall of opportunities, which has come to. I'm frankly working for over 7 to 8 IPOs right now. So we are actually in total IPO, which is hitting the global market, is close to about $30 billion. And in India itself, we are getting to about 9.7 billion. So that's something which is going to come forward. But there are opportunities in pharma, a deep tech analysis, which is required for, so we have, I think, a lot of cancer patient, and we still don't know how to sort of see pharma companies. They're just selling medicine, and they have like a set of clients, or you can say so we manufacture. We are into API. We also do a lot of contract manufacturing. So in sense, we work for all the world best companies, and we are the suppliers. So we are, I think, third global supplier in the world. Now, having said that, there's something which we need to organize. So I think as an opportunity for all of us, as Dimitri and team, Anastasia, Julia, all of you guys, and Deep, this thing that we need to have some sort of a holding in India, which channel the entire thing. Like globally, you guys are doing fantastically great. I mean, you have an existence all over the world, but India it's gonna be a big market for all of us, putting our head together and finding and obviously the sanitary pads, and there's so much of taboo still going around. Though we say that we are one of the largest growing, and we require some sort of which could channelize the entire framework, So yeah, so this is what I could feel. A spec opportunity, there could be a lot. Maybe 100 to 200 companies right now looking for this spec opportunity, and for a fact that there are a lot of these M&A companies which are making like a good amount of money through SPAC opportunity, because still we need somebody who's reliable and who can be trustable, and who can take us to the entire process. So our job is to have some sort of a framework which is like, okay, you want to invest in this sector, or they're an investor from India, or there is some IPO, or there is some promoter who would like to raise capital through SPAC. So we could be we could be the only single point of contact for them, so that they could come to us and we can take care of the entire thing. So just to summarize it, I think we require a framework in India, and as I'm a guy from the market, and I know that for about in 2020 to 2021, the aggregate pharma company which has grown from 100 million to $1 billion. So I've seen a rise of more than 3,000 to 4,000% in some of the companies. So maybe when I'll become when I'll come as a not a panel, not I think somebody who will show the slides. So I'll show you all that performances.
For sure.
So yeah. So
thank you.
Guys,
Thank you for that answer. And actually, I couldn't agree with you more. Every market and every country has its intricacies, and it's a very different, very specific process. And actually, to that, we have our next question for Dimitri, which is, what are some unique challenges for new investors who enter pharma and longevity space, regardless of the country, or if you want to give an example? And what would be your recommendation how to tackle those challenges?
during last 2 years, first of all, because of pandemics, many investors who previously were investing in some kind of more traditional asset classes, for example, into real estate. So actually, many of them became skeptic about those industries, about those assets, and they switched. Many of them actually switched their attention towards biotech, biopharma industries. And we also do see, so that's why this is one of the causes why overall biotech industry is on the rise during the last 2 years. It's exceeding growth of most of other industries. I would say that only maybe artificial intelligence and space tech could be compared, like the dynamic of growth of those industries could be compared with biotech industry. Now, I think that for new investors who are entering biotech industry, there's quite a lot of already well-established frameworks, well-established investment funds, investment banks, so on and so forth. So I don't see any particular challenges in that field. I think that the only one interesting opportunity is indeed that if previously there was one route, standard route, like you go to Silicon Valley, you're going then to NASDAQ, and all kind of innovations are happening somewhere in the United States. So yes, indeed, it was maybe like 5 years ago, especially 10 years ago. But during last years, all this kind of Silicon Valley became distributed all around the world. There are now many Silicon Valleys, and there's Silicon Valley in Switzerland, in Singapore, in Hong Kong. So you can see new growing Silicon Valleys everywhere. Like and in China, it's indeed extremely visible because a rise of artificial intelligence industry and very next generation technology in artificial intelligence is like extremely remarkable. I would say that by many experts, it's considered that China actually already surpassed United States in terms of dynamic development of artificial intelligence industry. And artificial intelligence is, like driving, accelerating the progress in all other industries where it's supplied. So my point is that for investors, there's quite a lot of opportunities to actually to play with this geographical arbitrage, because if investors can understand good gaps, inconsistencies in hubs of IP generation, intellectual property, extent of IP intellectual property generation at the same time, that companies can be also international. For example, here the case of Insilico Medicine was mentioned several times, including by InvestHK. The company originally was incorporated in United States. The actual initial back office was in Russia, but then the company became very much international. Now their headquarters is in Hong Kong. However, they are having operations, significant operations in Shanghai, in Taiwan, and also in the US. And like this is very good example of internationalization of most innovative companies. So my point is that for investors, it also represents quite interesting opportunity in the sense that investors, those who can become international in the sense that analyze different markets with same deep analysis, they will have some symmetric advantage compared with locally focused investors. For that matter, of course, is required much more enhanced, much more data-driven, big data analytical-driven, maybe even I would say artificial intelligence-driven investment financial analytics. And deep pharma intelligence, in particular, Asian agencies, this is our subsidiaries, they're working exactly on that matter. So for us, for Deep Knowledge Group and our investment vehicles, this gives indeed some asymmetric advantages, competitive advantage. Now, the other field, which is longevity industry, this is much more complex. So longevity industry, much more complex compared to biotech industry, and it requires indeed additional expertise. So new investors coming into longevity industry, for them there's a lot of traps, a lot of different issues, and this is like investors who experience in the biotech industry, they can make a lot of, let's say, mistakes in longevity industry if they will try to apply the previously existing investment strategies which proved to be relevant in biotech industry. If they will try to reapply it to longevity industry, in many cases it will lead to losses, and especially it is related to companies which are pursuing to going public without having very tangible clinical success in clinical trials in humans. Unfortunately, many companies claiming that they are having something to do with longevity, with anti-aging techniques, they are pursuing to going public ahead, like as fast as possible. This creates some significant inconsistencies. But once again, for longevity industry, the level of sophistication of analytics, it's much beyond, much higher, much deeper compared with what is required for what should be considered as modern standards for investment analytics in the biotech industry. In longevity industry, it's 10 times more complex, and that's why indeed novel approaches, modern technologies, data science driven, big data analytics, AI driven technologies are required for proper investment financial analytics, SWOT analysis, due diligence, so on and so forth. And once again, our companies are actually focused on that. But maybe to answer very simply, I would recommend for new investors which will be interested in longevity industry not to invest into the companies which do not have actual tangible results proved on humans. And by the way, longevity industry, besides biomedical side, there's a lot of much more safer sectors for now, such as longevity insurtech, longevity fintech, wealth tech. Those sectors are growing quite steadily and not dependent at all on the results of clinical trials.
It's a very fair point. Thank you so much. And interesting point that you made as well about like alternative hubs that might be superseding the classical ones, let's say. I'm wondering if Gregory is with us and if he can answer what would drive businesses to start in Hong Kong. Gregory, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here. So the camera's off, so I just wondered, my camera's off. I don't know why.
Okay. Feel free to proceed as is if you cannot switch it on.
Okay, can you repeat the question again?
Sure. So Dmitry made a point about alternative hubs for investment, like the one in Hong Kong, for instance, instead of going to Silicon Valley, which is more a classical approach, to go towards this side of the world. And I was just wondering if you can comment on what would push international companies to invest and like make this shift to Hong Kong alternative.
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. The thing is, everything has a plus and minus, advantage and disadvantage. So when you're in Silicon Valley, great, everything is great, but the competition is also great. And I think everyone makes noise. Do you know what happened? Everyone talks a lot. I mean, they should work on prototypes. They should work very hard on innovation. And now they are pushed to being on stages. They should look like millionaires and so on. I think why Hong Kong is different. The thing is, we have the same level, but we are very dedicated. I think for very selected companies, we talked about medical eye companies. When they come to Hong Kong, we give them the stage. We really connect to stakeholders, to greater companies. We have actually our own funds. We have non-dilutive money. We give for 3 years, like 650,000 euro. You don't have to pay back. We cultivate companies and we talk to the Hong Kong Exchange. So we nurture companies. I think in a nutshell, the advantage of Hong Kong is you're more visible. And then you have to make this organic growth. You have to grow your company, the startup, the scale up. And then we are not so narrow-minded because we have 7.5 million people. This is not the biggest market, but we have the mainland China, we have Asian connections. We actually want that you scale up in Asia, because when you make roots in Hong Kong, maybe you start with 10 persons as staff members, but you grow. And if you find additional partners in Japan and South Korea, we would love it. So this is the difference. It's more customized. We take you by the hand. We want to see you winning and growing in Hong Kong and Asia. And this, maybe it's the difference, like the fanciest jungle in San Francisco, you know? So this would be my take on that. Yeah. Do you have further questions?
Yeah, definitely. No, I appreciate your answer. I feel like it's a very big distinction between, it's like trying to reach a customer service with a huge conglomerate and a very home-based company, right? The attention from them is going to be very different. So it's a very fair point and a very interested one in terms of how much attention and how much care you're going to get from one or another.
It's also based on experiences. You know, I worked in Japan for the biggest cluster, life science cluster. It was in Kobe, you know, Kobe is near Osaka and Kyoto. So we got hundreds of companies from Tokyo. I say, why are you not in Tokyo? And they said, nobody cares, you know? It's like New York, you know, it's a big city. And when I worked in Kobe, we nurtured the service. I landed over 350 companies with my colleagues in 10 years. So take them by the hand, talk about the markets, talk about the regulation, talk about funding, stakeholders, everything is important. And then we took also the companies abroad, you know, because many pharma in Japan, they never took the biomedical companies from Japan. So we're talking about the mega pharma in Europe, in America, etc. and so on. So this I learned, do the job customized. Now I work for Invest Hong Kong. And you could see that today, the outline of Hong Kong and also the Hong Kong Exchange information. I think many things are customized. They work with a kind of intelligence and also the dedication. So it's of course also a kind of mutual exchange. You know, it is. You cannot do everything by yourself. You cannot invent the wheel again. So we need a kind of fruit basket in Europe, in America, in Asia. And maybe you say, okay, I cannot reach the market of America or Europe. Maybe I can do it in Asia. And we will help you to find a place in our ecosystem, a specific niche. That would be my take on that.
That makes a lot of sense. And thank you so much for your insight. And to wrap it up, I just have one last question for Anastasia. And the question is, for people outside of this system, what would drive venture capital and private equity companies to go and invest and try and start to specialize in the healthcare and biotech? What would be the primary driver for that?
Thank you for your question, Julia. I highlighted in my presentation that health tech and biotech sector has tremendous growth for the past 2 years, especially due to COVID-19 situation. And we can see that the CAGR for the industry right now is more than 10%. And in terms of SPACs, it's even more than 200% per year. So we can see it is just a great opportunity for investors to find a great market, not only to invest in fintech and AI, but also to invest in health tech, in longevity especially, which will drive like very quick in the next coming 5-10 years. So we are going to expect high returns for the investors, and they can invest not only in the seed stage, but also in all the stages of the companies and in SPACs as well, because like when you invest in SPAC, you can have the fast track for the IPO exit if you are an investor.
Thank you so much. Yes, that's very insightful, and thank you so much for referring to your presentation. And I see that we don't have any further questions for our speakers, so I would just like to thank you all for participating and for shedding the light on all these aspects and intricacies of the industry. I believe it was very useful for everyone who's attended and even for each other. So thank you so much for taking the time and for being with us. And I would like to also remind everyone who's attending today's presentation that we also have a Western Hemisphere session today, the second part of day 3 of our event, which is going to start at 5 p.m. GMT. And also all our future events, we will keep you posted on those. we will deliver the updated version of the conference website soon with all of the speakers' talks that you can access. And I would like to also encourage everyone who tuned in today to sign up for future events. As I said, once you receive the update on those, we'll have the landscape of advanced technology companies in pharmaceutical industry report coming up that will also be shared, and the teaser. Please don't forget to follow our Deep Pharma Intelligence dashboards developments for the AI in pharma, and all of our lots of reports on the subject. I will share the contact information and all the useful links in the email as well. Thank you so much for your attention, and we will be happy to see you next time.
Thank you.